Okay, let me quickly introduce myself. I'm Helmy Abouleish. I'm from Egypt, and in Egypt we are working since 37 years. This is when my father decided to go from Austria to Egypt. He's an Egyptian, to establish Sekem. Sekem was meant to be a holistic development approach, covering some very realistic objectives. First, to introduce biodynamic farming in the desert, which seemed very easy in 1977. It has never been done before. Second, to introduce what he called اقتصاد المحبة and what we would call today fair trade, a transparent value chain where everyone gets a fair part of the added value. Third, he wanted to introduce something which seemed to all his friends and the experts as something impossible. He wanted to sell these biodynamic products produced in the desert under fair trade conditions to the local market. And it was never his objective to send only potatoes to you. And this is very easy under the, if you know that in Egypt, the GDP per capita is about $1,300. In Europe, it's about 30,000 euros. So it's obvious that you should sell Demeter products to the local market in Egypt. And whereas this seemed to be a very good business model, going biodynamically into the desert, cultivate desert, grow with a fair trade approach and sell to the local market, he was sure that there will be a lot of added value. So he also put into his concept and vision and dream for the future of Egypt that he wanted to put 10% of the added value to the people of his community, of the community we are going to create. Corporate social responsibility as a term did not exist. Okay? Now, another 10% of the time of the people working in Sekem should always be dedicated to their education, development, and self-realization. And last not least, 10% of the added value should go to innovation and research. So the business model I'm asking you now to invest in is creating a biodynamic farm in the desert under fair trade. The products you produce, sell it to the local market, and the added value you use for your people, for your community, and for innovation to solve the challenges of the 21st century. This was the idea. You can imagine that all the experts, all the friends and all the family told him, you are crazy, you are ill, go home to Austria. And this is what I want to state here at the beginning. It started with a mission impossible. It started with a dream. It started not with a business model or profit maximization in the beginning. Now, the jumping today, I can tell you, against all odds, the miracle happened. Today, we are in the desert growing biodynamic products. We have a community of 30,000 people, 2,000 work and live in Sekem. Thousands of kids go to our schools. We have thousands of hectares of biodynamic area in Egypt, hundreds of farmers certified biodynamic. This is a miracle. And the question is, how come? How did it happen? Why, against all odds, it was possible to do this? And the one part of the answer is obviously, what are the ingredients of the miracle? And the other one is, why didn't we multiply it? Why it's not mainstream yet? So let me go to the first part of the question. What are the ingredients of the miracle? There are ecological ingredients of the miracle. One, the most important, is compost. The black gold for our farmers in Egypt is, I think, the one single most important factor of the success. Compost turned dead soil into living soil. Compost enabled us to deal with the issue of salt, because you have always salinity in our deserts when water is evaporating all the day. Compost enabled us to deal with the issue of water scarcity. Egypt is living below the poverty line of water. Egypt has not enough water to feed its own population, but with biodynamic soils, you could save 20 to 40% of the water in growing crops. And compost enabled us to sequester 1 ton of carbon every year in every hectare since 37 years. We cultivate. So compost is, I think, the heart of the whole story. And then there were other ecological issues, of course. Biodynamic preparates, which we use and which do unbelievable things. Seeds, biodynamic animal husbandry, which we returned to Egypt. Egypt has no animal husbandry traditionally because it didn't need animals and compost for the last 5,000 years. A very small thing are our beneficial insects and predators, which, as you may know, in Egypt we have cotton as a main crop, and cotton has a lot of insects coming every year on it. Egypt was the country in 1975 with the highest insecticide and pesticide usage in the world. On about 3 million hectares, Egypt was using 36 million kilos of pesticides every year, sprayed evenly by aeroplanes all over Egypt. Obviously not only on the cotton, but also on the villages, people, animals, and every other plant. And this is enhancing biodiversity, as you know, of course. And so the question is, what could be done to deal with it in a different way? And our predators, some pheromones and biological control, was a solution. And in 1991, finally, the Ministry of Agriculture got convinced, stopped aeroplane spraying in Egypt due to our trials. And this reduced the pesticides used in Egypt overall 95%. So from 36 million kilos, we are back to 3 million kilos, which to my belief is still much too much, but it's quite an achievement. So on this side, ecological challenges, I think biodynamic farming is a great answer. On the other side, economic challenges. How can you create jobs? How can you successfully sell biodynamic products in the local market? This would not have happened without our partners, without our farmers, employees, and customers. Sekem today is the market leader of organic products in Egypt, sells 76% of its products in Egypt, and has a position of a market leader in herbal teas all over the market. It's not in the organic niche, which does not exist, of course. We are selling in the conventional supermarkets and pharmacies. This would have not been possible without our partners in Europe. We would have never been able to do this in the local market without learning from our partners in Europe, without selling potatoes to Europe, getting added value and use them for our development work in Egypt. It would have never been possible without some crazy ethical banks investing into us. It would have never been possible without our partners from the organic vegetable markets like Eoster and organic farm foods and I don't know what, and Lebensbaum, Alnatura, and so on and so on and so on. Without them, Sekem would not exist, the miracle would not have happened. So we learned out of exports. We got added value which we reused in Egypt to develop a local market. But still, even with this ecological approach and the economic approach, the miracle would not have happened. The miracle which happened also because we are still investing into a learning living organization every single day. These 2,000 people every day come to their work. They meet in circles. They know each other. They work for each other. And they are respected, heard, and developed. 1 and 1 can equal 10 or 0. And it's a daily piece of art to make it 10. And you never achieve it, and tomorrow morning we have to do something new. But this is part of the miracle. A really learning living organization in Sekem is in the heart of everything that happened. And finally, a last part of the miracle is, of course, that we invested really into the individual potential of every one of our people. Reconnecting our people to their sources of inspiration, whether it's religion, arts, science, philosophy. But reconnecting them to the light is the only way to light their inner souls. And we are doing this in kindergartens, schools, primary schools, vocational training centers, schools for kids with special needs. We have more than 1,000 kids educated every day in Sekem. And since 2 years, we have a university, Heliopolis University for Sustainable Development, where today 400 kids are educated in social entrepreneurship, sustainable economics, sustainable water management, renewable energy, and phytopharmacy. So investing into the potential of our people, helping them to develop their souls and their consciousness, is and was part of the miracle. And obviously, when you ask me, was the potato export to Egypt, to Germany, an essential part of the miracle? Yes, it was. Without these exports, at the very beginning, at 100%, Sekem would not exist. Today, it's less. Today, I think it still makes an added value for me in Egypt, for our people, because it creates a potential to develop on other levels. So far to the ingredients of the first question. The second question was, why isn't it mainstream yet? And this is very easy, the answer. We have all the time visitors from all over the world and from the ministries of Egypt, and they come and they see the farm and then they say, oh, beautiful, nice community. And I didn't show you pictures because I didn't want to take too much time, but it is very beautiful and I can only invite you to come and see. But why didn't we multiply it? 100 times in Egypt and 1,000 times in Africa and 1,000,000 times all over the world. Because as what I just explained is a holistic development approach. Relies on people and communities, their sources of inspiration, and not on buildings, methodologies, techniques, or whatever else. And not on profits, of course. And not on money, but on spirit. So we will multiply the idea, but through our schools and universities, not through politicians. And we did a study, because when the Minister of Agriculture came and said, this is great, I love your food, and I eat your bread and so on, but it's very expensive, and the Egyptians are very poor. So we want to feed the world, we want to feed Egypt and the poor of Egypt. I can tell you, we did a study 4 years ago. It was called the 100% organic study for Egypt, where we did a true cost accounting. And it proved that the 6 most important crops of Egypt, including cotton, maize, wheat, and so on, which feed Egypt, within the next 5 to 10 years, on the ordinary coasts, with only hard externalities, no health impact, no environmental impact, only energy, water, CO2, all of them will be cheaper in biodynamic. So we have a major issue that currently we are not being mainstreamed because the economic reality of the world does not show the added values we have and does not reflect the prices. But I'm 100% convinced that we will see biodynamic agriculture or agriculture 3.0 going mainstream within the next 10, 20 years, and we should better be prepared for more miracles like this. Thanks.
Thank you.